Hello everyone. So I want to do a quick video talking about how to set up a listening post because that's something we're going to do a lot during this trimester. So when we have a listening post, we have our attacking computer listening, and we're waiting for our victim to call back and say, hey, I'm ready for you to send me commands. So that's really what we want. We want to be able to control the victim from the attacker. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So today I'm going to run through a couple of ways, and my attacker is, as normal, going to be Kali. Got my pfSense as usual, and I'm attacking another Kali and an XP. Alright, so let's start with the easiest sort of listening post, which is this netcat. So that's what netcat means, or NC means, netcat. And I'm creating a listening post. -L is listening on port 1337. Alright, so in this case, I'm not even really going to exploit the Kali. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to run one command on here and call back to my attacker. And you might think, oh, well, that's not very useful, but actually, there's a couple of times, there's a couple of situations where you can force your victim to run a command, and then you get this reverse shell back. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is the command I'm going to run, netcat 192.168.1.5. So this is my attacker. This is the port that the attacker is listening on, and this is what I want to run. So this is my shell. So I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to have a reverse shell. So anything I run a type over here will run on the victim. So people sometimes think the first time they've done this, it didn't work. Well, it did. If I type something here, it's running on the victim. So we can even see that. So let's go to CD desktop and go hello. And I'm going to put that in a file. So that's what this arrow means. And the file will be hacked. Alright, if we go to our victim, see I've got this file here. Whoops. I need to delete that one. Alright. So let's go back to our attacker and end the connection by pressing Control C. So I'm going to create another listening post. Same way, netcat. And the reason I'm creating another listening post is sometimes you'll be attacking a system, a Linux system that has netcat, but it doesn't let you do this -E flag because it's a little insecure. But regardless, even if you can't do that, there's another way you can get a reverse shell, and that would be using bash. So we start bash directly here. So the -I flag, and we're going to pipe that out to 192.168.1.105, so my attacker on this port. And same thing, people often think that it didn't work, but type ls, go to CD desktop, and echo hello. And again, this is put this little symbol, put it in a file, hack.txt. See that shows up on my attacker, or my victim, excuse me. Alright, so that's a very basic way to get a reverse shell. It's a nice thing to make your victims do. So if you think about if you're doing the TCP hijacking pass task, that's not a pass task, distinction task or HD task, I can't remember which. This can be a good command to send, one of these two. On the other hand, you may need something a little stronger to get on the target that you want to get on. So let's look at attacking this XP device. So I'm going to get on XP using MSF console, Metasploit. I'm going to start MSF console. And again, Metasploit is a sort of free software that's really useful for penetration testing. I didn't get the cal this time. That's unfortunate. Alright, so I have to say what I'm going to do first. So I'm going to use this exploit multi-handler. So I'm going to handle multiple connections potentially. That's what that's saying. I'm going to listen for multiple compromised computers to call back to me. And then I have to set a payload. So I have to say what I want to happen. And my payload, the thing that my victim is going to run, is going to be this reverse shell called Meterpreter. So this is a very sophisticated tool that will let you exercise a lot of control over whatever victim you compromise. And then I'm telling it that it's going to run over TCP. There's a couple of other options. TCP is the most reliable. As you know, TCP tries to make sure that all your packets show up in order. This may not be the stealthiest, but is the most reliable, so that's what we'll start out with. And then when we're listening, you have to say what you're going to listen on. So I'm going to listen on this, my local IP address, 105, and I'm going to listen on this port, 1337. And then I just type exploit. Alright, so the second stage of this process is I'm going to make the XP call back to me by starting a Trojan. So I'm going to create a Trojan using a program called MSF Venom. Let me just clear this here and zoom in a little bit for you guys. Alright, so here's MSF Venom. And I'm saying I'm picking the payload. So I have to match the payload to what I'm listening for. So I'm listening here, and I'm going to serve up this payload, which is Windows, interpreter, and again over TCP. The format is going to be an exe file, so that's standard for Windows. And remember, we've got a listening post. This is listening over here. So when you run the Trojan, you want to call back to that listening post, so you have to tell the Trojan where you're listening. So that's going to be 192.168.1.105, and I'm listening on this port. And this says put the Trojan into this file. If you don't put it in the file, it'll show up on the screen, which isn't going to be too useful for you. Although it is kind of interesting to see what the raw code looks like. All right, so creating this exploit, this Trojan. You should see something like this. So it's on Windows. Picked x86, so 32 bits. That's fine because we're attacking a 32-bit version of Windows. Payload was pretty small, actually. That's pretty good. And all right, so we've got this Trojan. We need to get it on our victim. So there's a couple of ways to do that. Of course, the classic is you email it to the victim. We don't want to freak out eSolutions though by emailing this over our school email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this program called Easy Upload. It's a website called Easy Upload, EasyUpload.io. Check. So you just drag and drop your file there. I put mine. Here's my Trojan. Just drag it here. Click up. Excuse me. Click upload. So you're gonna get this this link. That's fine. So I go back to so this is my XP. This is my victim. And I go to the website. I click download. And then I've already downloaded it here. And here's my Trojan. So it's worth looking at the properties just to see how convincing a Trojan this is. So they've tried a little bit to make this look like it's part of the Apache software package. They've got this license here, the Apache license, Apache company. So this is not an extremely sophisticated Trojan, but it is trying a little bit to hide what it actually is. It doesn't say that it's Trojan.com, but it's not going to fool anyone who really knows what they're doing. But all right, let's go ahead and run this. All right, so if I go back to my attacker, I need to go to my reverse shell. All right, so you can see here that I got a callback from my victim, 103, and then it sent this Meterpreter reverse shell. All right, so if I want to go back, I can always suspend by going to background, and then if I want to get back to my sessions, just type sessions1. So now I'm back on the victim. All right, so once I get on the victim, there's a couple of things I might want to do. One of them may be get out of this process. So if I'm on the victim, I type task list. I see this program scripts, right? So I ran scripts. Scripts went away, but if I look at the task list, scripts is still running. So that's a little bit suspicious, right? If I know if I'm a good network admin, I'm going to immediately try and kill this process. All right, so you can see the whole list of things you can do with Meterpreter. There's a bunch of interesting ones like get screenshots. But I'm going to get the process list. So here's a process 1868. I'm going to try and migrate into that. Or maybe I'll try 155. See if I can do that. Alright, I did do that successfully. If I run the task list again, scripts is gone. So that's helpful for me. On the other hand, I'm still going to be able to find out that I was compromised here if I know what I'm doing. So if I type netstat -ano, I'm still going to see that there's an interesting connection here, right? 192.168.1.105 on 1.3.7. Again, if I'm a good admin, I know that there's not supposed to be anything on 1.3.7. All right. So that's how you can sort of detect this attack. That's one way you can detect this attack, even after I've moved out of the process list. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close down this connection. Type exit. Exit MXFed, exit and start over. All right, let me reboot XP real quick just because I don't think I put it into any particularly unsalvageable state, but just because it was a long video and we're getting to the end, I don't want to have to start over if I accidentally mess something up. So I'll reboot it, get it to a fresh state. Here's my picture. Again, didn't get the cow. Unfortunate. All right, so the problem with the Trojan approach is, of course, that people have to click on the Trojan, right? So ideally, we'd like to know that there's some software running on the target computer that we could just exploit without the user having to do anything. And since this is Windows XP, there are, in fact, many ways to do that. So we're going to use a classic way. So again, I'm going to pick my exploit. And this exploit, whoops. I was supposed to say, so I type in use. So I want to say I want to use this exploit. I want to exploit Windows. I want to exploit this file sharing protocol. And I'm going to use this classic bug in the Windows XP Net API. Alright, so I've got this exploit that I want to use. I want to set the payload. I've already got it typed previously, so I'll just go back up and grab that again so I don't make any typos. So again, set payload, Windows, Meterpreter, reverse TCP. So I want to go over TCP, just more reliable. Alright, so this one's a little different. So before, I only had to set where I was listening, right? But now, I'm not waiting passively for the user to run a Trojan. I'm actively going out and attacking a victim, so I have to say who I'm going to attack. So I have to say our host, and I can't remember, oh, it's 192.168.1.103. I could double check that, but I remember that's correct. Yep, 103. Alright, and then I still have to do the same thing. I have to set up my listening post. 192.168.1.105. Set L port 1337. And if you ever want to know what you need to set up for a particular attack, you can do show options. L host, I've got that set. L port. R hosts, I'm only attacking the one. You don't want to change this port because this is the port that the software you're attacking runs on, the SMB port. If you want to dive in a little bit deeper into how this exploit works, it uses a pipe named pipe. So you don't want to change that either, unless you know that your victim has changed these settings, which we haven't. Alright, so this is a pretty straightforward exploit. We should be able to get on our target box just by typing exploit now that we've set everything up. All right, so if you did everything right, you should see this. So you're looking at the server, and you figure out that this is Windows XP and running Service Pack 3. So that's an operating system that has the vulnerability that we know how to exploit. So we're selecting our target, and we're trying to start the vulnerability, and we did it. And then we sent this interpreter, this reverse shell, and now once again I'm on my target. So I'm gonna do something fun. I'll just take a screenshot. So let me minimize this. Here's a screenshot I got from my victim. Alright, so that's how you set up a listening post. That's how you get a reverse shell on your target. A couple of different ways. So we're going to, as we go through the trimester, try more and more difficult scenarios to try and get a reverse shell on our target. But the basic idea will always be the same. You'll have some listening post, and then you'll try and do some sort of exploit to make the listening post, get a call back to the listening post so you can take control. So as always, shoot me your messages, your questions. I'm happy to help you out as you work through this week's tasks.